Have you ever wondered what happens when an immortal life is saved by a mortal sacrifice? Everyone knows that the Fae are powerful, but even the strongest light can be swallowed by a dark enough shadow. Today, a kingdom is holding its breath because its heart is stopping. If you stay and listen, you will discover that the cure for a dying prince is not found in a spell or a potion, but in the veins of a girl who was never supposed to exist in his world. This is not just a story of a rescue. It is the story of a price that can never be unpaid. Prince Valen was the son of the Fae Kingdom, but now he lay on a bed of cold stone, fading away. His skin, once glowing with health, was now as pale as winter frost. His breathing was a thin, rattling sound that filled the heavy silence of the room. A dark curse was draining his life, pulling the ancient magic out of his body like water leaking from a broken cup. Each second he grew weaker, and each second the forest outside grew darker. The high healer looked at the young woman standing in the center of the room. Her name was Elara. She was a human, small and fragile compared to the tall Fae around her, yet she was the only one who could stop the end of their world. "The prince is dying," the healer said, her voice trembling. "A dark shadow has stolen his strength. Only one thing can stop the drain. Your blood is the only cure." The palace was filled with many who loved the prince, and they all gathered around Elara to help her. The royal guard stepped forward, his silver armor clanking. "I will carry you to his side," he promised, his hand on his sword. "I will protect you from any danger that tries to stop us." The maid brought a cup of warm water and a crust of bread. "I will keep you strong so you do not faint," she whispered. Even the advisor, a wise Fae with long white hair, stayed close. "I will show you exactly how to give him the cure," he said softly. But something was waiting in the darkness. A shadow beast, sent by an evil enemy, lived in the corners of the room. It was made of smoke and spite, and it did not want the prince to wake up. As Elara took her first step toward the stone bed, the air became biting cold. The floor turned into slippery ice, and a wall of black smoke rose up to block her path. The battle for the prince's life had begun, and the shadow beast was ready to kill anyone who tried to bring the cure.
If you enjoyed this tale of magic and sacrifice, join our circle of storytellers by subscribing. We are building a kingdom here, and I would love to have you along for every new adventure. Leave a comment below letting me know what you think of Prince Kaelen's choice.
The room grew darker as the shadow beast let out a bone-chilling roar. It was not just a sound. It was a physical force that pushed against the walls. The black smoke coiled like a hungry snake, rising from the floor to hide the bed where the prince lay. Elara took a step back, her heart drumming against her ribs. The cold was so sharp it felt like needles on her skin, and the ice beneath her feet made it nearly impossible to stand. "Do not let the fear take you," the guard shouted. He stepped in front of Elara, his massive silver shield catching the dim light. He swung his sword through the thick smoke, and every time the blade hit the fog, sparks of gold light flew into the air. The shadow beast hissed in pain, but it did not move. It lunged forward with a claw made of darkness, aiming for Elara, but the guard blocked the strike with a heavy thud. Behind them, the maid gripped Elara's arm with surprising strength. "Stay steady," she urged. She held a small, glowing lantern high, and its warm light pushed back the frost that was trying to climb up Elara's boots. Together they moved as one. The guard cleared the path, the maid provided the heat, and the advisor whispered directions, telling them exactly where to step to avoid the deepest parts of the shadow. The struggle was exhausting. The air was thick and hard to breathe, smelling of old dust and cold iron. Every time they gained a foot of ground, the shadow beast created a new wall of smoke. It was trying to tire them out, waiting for the prince's last breath to leave his body. "We must hurry," the healer cried from the bedside. "His heart is slowing. We are running out of time." With a final desperate surge of courage, the guard let out a battle cry and charged into the center of the beast. The sudden light of his courage caused the smoke to part just enough. The maid shoved Elara forward, pushing her through the last layer of freezing fog. Elara tumbled onto the cold stone at the foot of the bed. She looked up, and there he was, Prince Valen, his face almost blue, his eyes closed, drifting closer to the end. She reached out her shaking hand, knowing that the most difficult part was yet to come. The cold from the stone seeped into Elara's bones, but she did not let go. She pulled a small silver knife from her belt, the metal catching the flickering light of the lanterns. Her hands were shaking, not just from the freezing air, but from the weight of the moment. She looked at Valen's still face, his long lashes resting against skin that looked like cracked porcelain. There was no time left for fear. With a sharp breath, she pressed the blade against her thumb. A single brilliant drop of red blood bloomed against her fair skin. It looked like a ruby in a world of gray and shadow. She leaned over the prince, her hair falling around them like a curtain, and pressed her thumb against his cold, silent lips. First, nothing happened. The shadow beast roared with a final, desperate fury, lunging one last time to break the circle of protectors. But then, a soft warmth began to radiate from where her skin touched his. As the blood touched his tongue, a pulse of pure golden light erupted from Valen's chest. It was not a gentle glow. It was a physical wave of power that swept through the room. The drain that had been pulling the life from him stopped instantly, the invisible leaks in his soul sealing shut. The shadow beast shrieked, a sound of tearing metal and glass, as the golden light touched its smoky body. It could not exist in the presence of such a sacrifice. Within seconds, the beast dissolved into nothing more than a foul-smelling mist that drifted out the open windows. The air in the room suddenly turned warm, smelling of summer rain and blooming jasmine. Elara felt a strange pull in her chest, a tether tightening between her heart and the man on the bed. She watched, breathless, as the color rushed back into Valen's cheeks. The blue tint faded from his fingernails, and his chest rose in a deep, healthy breath. Slowly, his eyes fluttered open. They were the color of a clear sky after a storm, bright and piercing. He looked up at Elara, his gaze settling on the small cut on her hand. He didn't speak, but he reached up, his fingers brushing against hers. The connection was electric, a silent promise made in the dark that would now have to be kept in the light. The prince was no longer a fading ghost. He was a living flame once more. The heavy silence of the chamber was finally broken by the sound of Valen's voice. It was low and raspy, like the first stirrings of a forest at dawn. "I am alive," he whispered, his eyes never leaving Elara's. He sat up slowly, the silk sheets sliding off his chest to reveal skin that now shimmered with a healthy, sun-kissed glow. The golden scars of the curse had faded into faint, shimmering lines that looked like constellations across his skin. The palace erupted in a sound that had been absent for weeks. Joy. The high healer fell to her knees, weeping with relief, while the guard sheathed his sword with a heavy, satisfied ring of steel. The maid and the advisor stood together, watching as the shadows retreated into the furthest corners of the kingdom, defeated by the light returning to its center. The air was no longer thin and cold. It was vibrant, humming with the restored magic of a prince who had been pulled back from the very edge of the void. But as the celebrations began outside the stone doors, a quiet change settled between the two people at the center of the storm. Elara felt the weakness in her limbs, a soft exhaustion that spoke of the life she had shared. She looked at her thumb, where the small cut had already closed, leaving behind a tiny mark the color of gold. Valen reached out, taking her hand in his. His grip was strong and warm, a stark contrast to the ghost she had touched moments before. "You gave what was yours to keep me here," Valen said, his voice growing stronger. He stood, pulling Elara up with him, standing tall and regal before his people. He looked out the window at the golden forest, which was already beginning to bloom with new flowers in honor of his awakening. The Fae kingdom owes its heart to a daughter of the mortal world. From this day forward, the veil is not a wall, but a doorway. The shadow beast was gone, and the evil that sent it had been pushed back into the deep dark, but the greatest change was the bond that now lived in the prince's pulse. He was the heart of the Fae, but that heart now beat with a human rhythm. As the sun reached its peak, casting a brilliant light across the marble floors, Elara realized that she hadn't just saved a life. She had changed the fate of 2 worlds. The drain was over, the cure had worked, and a new legend was just beginning to breathe.